Hello, my beautiful perception trainers community, and welcome back to another video. So today it's going to be another talking head, floating head video because I forgot to charge my GoPro. But next time I'm gonna take you outside, and it'll be a fun thing. So yeah, bear with me for this video. It'll just be a normal floating talking head video. But I'm gonna be sharing with you some things that are definitely a little bit more personal to me and sort of how I came to this information that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So hopefully that'll make up for the less personal looking into my life video. All right, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about something that I feel is truly one of the most important foundational understandings, like the most important foundational practice on this self-love path that makes all the other tools, right? So being able to get messages from your emotions, being able to understand why you do what you do, and then being able to upgrade what you're doing, what you're doing so that you can get better results in your life. Being able to heal without going into a lack state. Being able to manifest and create what you want to create in your life with joy, and being able to learn and being able to grow and being able to change and expand and just not feel like a piece of shit all the time. Because I feel like really like what people are coming to, what you might be feeling as you come onto a self-love or onto a self-improvement path at all is just, right, you're realizing you're in pain. Your life isn't what you want it to be and you don't know how to fix it. And that's really the bottom line of why we come to this work at all. It's like we know we want something we don't have, and we know we want to feel a way that we don't feel. And we're looking for how to get what we want and how to feel how we want to feel. And that's really why we do any of this work, why we do any of the spiritual stuff that we do, why we do any of the things that we do, is we're trying to create what we want to create, and we're trying to feel how we want to feel. Whether we're aware of that, right? Like the degrees to which we are aware that that's why we're doing what we're doing is massive, right? The disparity between someone who even knows what they're looking for and what that actually is, and someone who's just searching and doesn't even know that they're searching, right? Like that's a huge disparity, but the bottom line is that's basically why we're all doing what we're doing. Now, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the one and only thing that you need to return back to over and over and over again for all of this other stuff to be possible, okay? For you to be able to feel how you want to feel and for you to be able to create what you want to create, okay? That is all going to come down to you becoming more and more complex, more and more aware of who and what you are, more and more aware of how the universe works and how those two things fit together. Because, right, at the end of the day, what feels good for a human being is to be evolving. We want to be learning, growing, changing, evolving, and expanding. And we want to be evolving in a specific direction. Okay, so it's not just necessarily any learning or any growth that feels good, right? It's that we're specific. We have a specific life path that we want to walk. We have a specific program to who and what we are as an individual, right? We're not blank slates when we're born. We come with certain traits and again, we're born into a very specific body, into a specific family, into a specific time frame, in a specific generation, with a specific everything. Yeah, we're not general. We are specific from the get-go because everything about us is a singularity. It's never happened exactly that way before. So you have a specific life you want to live. And there's generalities within that specific life, but there's a specific path that you generally want to walk down. Yeah, paradox? And when you feel that you're walking that path, you are going to feel good. You may not always feel joy. You may not always feel positive emotion as the main thing that's happening in your awareness right now. But you will feel that you're on the right track. And I'm going to tell you about my experience and how I know this, because this has been my experience. And that's really the difference between a good and a bad life. a life that feels good and a life that feels terrible. It's simply the life that feels good is the life where you know you're on your path. You're walking your path. You're learning what you came here to learn. You're expressing what you came here to express. You're discovering what you came here to discover. You're evolving into what you came in here to evolve into. You specifically, right? You're seeing the universe and discovering the things about the universe that only you in your singularity and your specificness can see and discover. And you're creating what only you in your specificness and your singularity can create based on what you are, a singularity. Only you can do what you came here to do, and that's real. That's not a cliche, because you're the only one who's specifically everything that you are. Yes? And in order to create what we're creating, it's all just based on information, right? It's just taking the information that is and evolving it in only the way that you can, because you're the only one with the very specific information the way that you have it, and the only one who can express that information, based, like the information of the universe, connecting with the information of what you are relatively, those two things combining to create new information that only you can create. It's your path over and over and over again. That's what feels good. That's what is expression. That's what expression is, okay? So when we're looking at the most foundational, fundamental thing, that if you have this, all the rest of that, all the rest of what is required for that whole, complex thing of you being yourself and you walking your path, right? Which is being able to understand your emotions, being able to learn from everything that you're going through and expanding it, being able to see broader picture, being able to understand who and what you are, being able to understand who and what you want and what you want to create, and then understanding the universe the way that it is. So every time you go to create something and it doesn't work, you learn so you can expand, and then you can grow, and then you can eventually, right, 100 light bulbs later, create that light bulb, so that you can understand why you have the psychoses that you have and the coping mechanisms that you've developed and the things that you do that you know are harmful or out of alignment, so you can actually understand that and why you're doing that and what you're really wanting and how to get that in a new way that you've never seen before and maybe no one has ever shown you, right? It's all complex. How do we get there? We start with this one foundational thing. If you have this, all the rest of this is possible. If you don't have this, I don't care how long you sit with your negative emotions, you're never going to get a message. I don't care how long you try and tell yourself, I'm not a bad person, that I made a mistake, you're never going to believe it, and you're never going to be able to change. And you're never going to be able to see what you've never seen. If you don't have this, all the rest of the work that I talk to you about is going to be impossible for you. And I'm going to tell you why after I tell you what the thing is. The thing is this: compassion for yourself. That's it. If you cannot return to, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm not a bad person doing bad things. I'm a good person with a good heart, doing what I know to do right now based on what I understand. This is me doing what I know to do to get my needs met, to become more empowered, to try to step into what I came here to do. You're constantly trying to evolve. And everything that you do is your attempt at evolving based on your current level of understanding. You have never done anything wrong. You have never done anything bad. Even people who intentionally want to hurt other people are not bad people. They are coping people. We are all coping with our pain and our trauma. And until we can understand that, no growth is necessary. So long as we're believing we're pieces of shit, so long as we're believing that there might be something in us that is evil, so long as we're moving from that place that I'm a bad person and I need to fix myself, nothing is possible. No growth is possible. And let me tell you why. Because the second we believe that, I'm doing what I'm doing for no reason, I'm binging, I'm purging, I'm spending my money, I'm getting in the wrong relationship over and over again, I'm always making messes in my relationships, I'm always choosing the wrong job, I'm always going into debt, I'm always causing all these problems, I'm always making this body drama, I'm always blah, blah. So long as we're sitting there and being like, or I'm always hurting people's feelings, or they're upset with me, or I'm never perfect, I keep disappointing people, I keep doing this, I keep doing that, I can't. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? So long as we're working from what's wrong with me. I'm doing this for no reason, I'm broken, I'm fucked up, there's something evil about me. So long as we're working from that, what are we doing? We're putting ourselves into a state of stress. Okay, this is not even esoteric. Okay, it's not some energetic thing that when you're in a state of hating yourself, you're energetically blocking yourself. No, this is biology. When you're telling yourself you're a piece of shit, or that you're doing what you're doing for no reason, or that, right, what you're doing is bad and you have no reason to do that, you're just bad. When you're telling yourself that, you are putting yourself in the deepest, most intense state of stress you possibly can. Because to believe that about yourself is the most painful core belief there could possibly be. Why? Because it's the most false. It hurts the most because it's the most untrue. And it sends us into this state of stress. Because it does. You know this. And you may be in this state so much that you don't even notice anymore because you're in it all the time. That you're literally in this adrenaline fight or flight state 24/7, where you're constantly looking out, right? So either you're the kind of the abuser side and you're constantly attacking and this is mine and who's going to take my stuff, and you're on the defense, right? You're on the attack. You're just constantly, like, that's where we look at it and we think like a bad person. The person who's on the attack because they're in a state of feeling like they're such a piece of shit. They're not going to get their needs met. They're not worthy. They're not deserving. They're in such a state of stress. They're on the attack all the time. So we see those people. That's one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, we have our codependent, empathic people who are on the defense all the time. We're constantly trying to read everyone around us so we can see what everyone's at and what everyone's doing and what everyone wants, so we can try and do that. We're constantly beating ourselves up whenever anyone around us is upset. We're beating ourselves up anytime we do anything that looks out of alignment. We're instead of attacking the outside world, we're attacking the inside world. We're in fight or flight, and it's who are you fighting and who are you running from. That's all that's different. But the bottom line is everyone's in this state of stress, this state of fight and flight. And when we're in that state, biologically in your brain, you can't think. Like, that's pretty much as blunt as I can put it. You can't think. You go into this stress state and you want to narrow things down. You narrow your focus. You want to just get into this place of feeling like you understand everything that you understand. So you want to simplify. You want to get rid of all these things. You go into black and white thinking. You're trying to simplify reality so that it's something that you can understand, so that it's something that you can control, so that you don't feel like you have to be in fight or flight all the time. That's what happens. So literally, when we're in this state of stress, when we're thinking we're evil people, and then that sends us into fight or flight, we don't have the capacity to learn anything new. We don't have the capacity to see why we're doing what we're doing. We don't have the capacity to see why what we want, what we don't want, why what's hurting us is hurting us, why this is this way, why this is that way. We have no capacity for this complex thinking. Because think again, that's expanding our view. In order to learn, in order to grow, in order to evolve, in order to expand, you have to expand. You have to get bigger. Your point of focus has to get wider. Your amount of information you take in has to be greater. That is impossible in a state of stress. Because in a state of stress, all you want to do is close rank, close vision, get the most simple amount of information that you can handle, that you're comfortable with, that you can understand from the state of stress, which is even less than what you can understand when you're in a state of rest and digest. And therefore, you cannot learn. You're just going to loop and loop and loop and loop forever. You're going to go into your crazy 8 cycles over and over and over again, because that's simple. That works in your fear state where this is all you can understand. And in fact, the more in stress you are, the more degraded your consciousness is going to become. Because you're going to need to simplify more. And then the next time you're in stress, you simplify again. And then the next time you're in stress, you need to simplify again. And then the next time you're in stress, you need to simplify again. And every time you simplify, you understand life less, which makes life even more overwhelming, which stresses you out even more, which makes you want to simplify even more, which makes you do things that seem bad even more, because you're even more scared and understanding even less. And so it's this vicious cycle of the more you're in this state of stress, the less you understand about how the reality works, the more you're coping rather than thriving, right? The more you're getting your needs met in downgraded ways because you understand yourself and the reality less, because you're trying to get rid of information. Make it simpler, which makes you act in even simpler ways, less intelligent ways, which are always a degradation. And so you look bad. It looks like you're doing wrong things, bad things. You're purging. You're binging and purging instead of understanding that there's this whole complex mess of things that you want and need that you can't see right now because you're in a state of stress. And rather than opening your awareness, you've shut it down even more by blaming yourself for doing your behavior. I'm bad and wrong and I shouldn't be doing this. So I'm already overwhelmed with life. I already don't understand all these things that happen to me. I already don't understand who I am and what I want. I already can tell that I'm not getting my needs met, but I don't know how to get them met. And now I'm doing what I know to do from my state of awareness to get my needs met, which is always what you're doing. Always. Every action you've ever taken was the best you knew to do to meet your need at the time. You've never done anything bad. And when you can start to understand that, you will start to see why you're doing what you're doing, what you're not seeing that you're not seeing that you're not seeing. Because growth out of a self-sabotaging behavior begins with understanding why you're doing it. Begins with understanding the need you're getting met through that behavior that you don't know how to meet any other way. Begins with understanding why you think you can't get that need met in any other way. Why you feel you can't express what you want to express. Why you feel you can't be who you want to be. It's going to be a big complex thing, right? So complexity is the reason why we're in the situation we're in. Life is complex. You are complex. What you want to do and grow into and expand into is complex. In order to become complex enough to do it, you're going to have to expand, which means you're going to have to take in new information, which means you're going to have to see things you've never seen before. You're going to have a new perspective of these things in your life that you've had a certain perspective on for your whole life, and expand that perspective. You have to expand, which cannot happen in a state of fight and flight, because fight and flight says narrow the focus to get me out of this immediate danger. That's what fight and flight is for. There's a lion, I just need to run from the lion. Simple problem, simple solution. You don't have a simple problem. There isn't a simple solution. Okay? You're not being chased by a lion. You're living in a world that's telling you that you can't be who and what you want to be, and you have a whole bunch of beliefs about yourself and about the reality and misunderstandings and not understanding, and you don't understand how the world works, and you don't understand how reality works, and that is why you're in the position that you're in. What we were talking about at the beginning of the video, who you want to be and what you want to expand into, you don't understand that. You don't know that. And it's painful not to be that, because that is the point of the human being. We are complex. We're here to express in complex ways. And the more complex we are, the more stress we're going to feel, the more negative emotion we're going to feel, the less we're expressing what we came here to express. Right? And the more complex we are, the more complex our reality has to become in order for us to be expressing what we came here to express. Right? Really, really, really intelligent people need a far more complex life to feel satisfied than less intelligent people. And that's not a dig on anyone. That's just how it is. Right? Dogs are more satisfied with a simple life than a human would ever be because they have less complexity in their being. The dog isn't wrong for that. That's just how complex it is. And a human isn't wrong because that's just how complex we are. And so what we want to understand about this is, again, the way out of our suffering as a complex thing, as a human, is through expansion. The way out of suffering for a complex human being with complex desires, complex things it wants to expand into, in a complex reality, is expansion, evolution, more information. Fear is the opposite of that. Stress is the opposite of that. Stress says get rid of information, simplify. Just simple solution for my simple problem. So it's not going to work. And the way we put ourselves in stress the most is by hating ourselves and assuming we're doing something for no reason, assuming we're wrong, assuming we're bad. Working from that place shuts you down immediately. So all of these other tools that come from the self-love path, you will never understand. Now I'm going to tell you from my perspective, okay? I have always been someone who's been empathic and sensitive and was taking on the weight of the world as my responsibility. And so there was a part of me that felt like everything in the world was my fault and that it was my job to fix all the world's pain. And so that's where my shadow came from, right? The part of me that was running around, okay, actually, I'll tell you a little bit more like that later. But then there was this other side of me that's always been there, okay? And in the beginning, it was my connection to God and Jesus and Christianity and all this. There was always this side of me that was able to connect with my innocence. And I don't know how to explain that, and I don't know why I had that. But there was this part of me that, so like I say, in the beginning, it really was, I deeply believed that I had a one-on-one relationship with Jesus. And I could feel the love, so let's put it this way. I could feel the love of God. I could access what I was at the time calling the love of God for myself for my entire life. And being someone who got into spiritual practices essentially from like the day I was born, I walked around and I prayed all the time. When I first started my journal, I started journaling in grade 5 or 6. I don't know if I've ever told you the story. I want to tell you the story actually. Because again, it kind of shows that when you start to trust yourself enough, when you just have this, any pockets of time where you have this belief in yourself that I am loved and I am good enough and it's okay, your life is going to kind of take care of itself. You're going to have these insights, you're going to have these awareness, things are going to happen to you and you're going to be conscious enough to be able to hold on to it, okay? So I feel like because I already had that, right, this practice as a child of praying and feeling like God loved me, praying and feeling like Jesus was there with me and just loving me. That's what it was in the beginning. I had that, even though I was in a situation where, right, my parents weren't taking care of me the way they should. I had mean friends. I had the whole world telling me I was a piece of shit. But because I had this spiritual thing from day one, there was this part of me that always knew that I was loved for some reason, okay? And that's really all I know how to explain it. And so I remember in grade 5, I was listening, I overheard a conversation between my grade 5 teacher, Mrs. Lake, who changed my life and is like the most amazing person I have ever met, talking to another student in my class. And her name was Whitney. And so Whitney said to Mrs. Lake, I want to be a writer when I grow up. And Mrs. Lake said, okay, well, if you want to be a writer, you need to start a journal. And I remember overhearing that conversation and thinking to myself, well, I don't want to be a writer, but I guess I have to start a journal now. And I don't know why, right? So like that's one of those things. It's like, it was just an awareness that I had in that moment of hearing that conversation, hearing Laree say that, and thinking, okay, well, that's information that I needed. And I literally started a journal like that night. And I remember what the journal looked like. It was literally like this tiger striped blue furry journal. Like, it was really funny. And But inside, I would write to God or write to Jesus and expect to hear an answer back. That's how I started to like develop my, I'm going to ask for guidance and then I'm going to get it, because I just expected that as a child. This was before, right? You're told that, or before all the negative beliefs that hearing from guidance is really hard. I was just like, well, no, if I have a relationship with Jesus, he's in my heart, I should be able to hear him. That shouldn't be that hard. And I guess because I didn't have negative foundational beliefs yet, hearing guidance was just easy. And so I was writing it in my journal, and I was writing, and literally now, I'm a writer. I'm a writer by trade. I do more writing than I do anything else. And it's literally because of that moment in grade 5 where I heard Larry say to have a journal, and I did it. I have a million journals. And so, this journal writing wasn't just writing, right? It wasn't just writing practice. It's also how I developed this connection to be able to hear from my own guidance that I know now is like universal guidance. It's not Jesus necessarily or whatever. It's just, I learned how to tap into that from that primitive level of understanding, from my Christian childlike view of the world. I was developing a connection to something far more complex, yeah? From this little intuitive hit that came from having an open enough awareness, because there was enough of me that was tapping into that I was good. And I think another reason that I was able to hear it from Larry was because Larry saw me as good. By the time I was in grade 5, I was so high strung and so stressed out, and my body was sick, and I had like just so much negative feedback from the people around me, right? Again, like my friends, I'm weird, they don't like me, I'm too sensitive, I'm too blah, blah, blah. My parents were struggling with me, but Larry saw me. She saw that I was good. And she didn't think of me as a problem child. And she could see that I had potential that I wasn't living up to because I didn't believe in myself. And she expected me to work hard. And I thought she hated me for the first couple months of grade 5. I really thought she didn't like me because she challenged me. But she was challenging me because she saw in me that there was potential that I wasn't tapping into. But at the same time, she liked me. She took me out for lunch, and she could see in me that I was trying hard and that I was just hurting. And I believe that it was just that, like her being able to see me that way made it so that literally everything she said to me from that point on really mattered, because I felt safe with her. And like I say, so much of who and what I am now were foundationally because of things that she said and things that she encouraged in me. Like she read to us, she read stories to us, she took me out for lunch, she talked to me. And I am a writer, I think, because of her. And I got onto this path that is my path because of her, because I felt safe with her. And she was not talking to me like I was a broken problem child. She was talking to me like I just needed someone to understand me. And she did. And so that demonstration of this is what happens when we feel safe, right? So like I say, I was a problem child. I was oversensitive. I was really, really emotional. I was already codependent at that point. Things were already not good by grade 5 and grade 6. But because I had that love of someone seeing me not as a bad kid. Okay, I want to tell this other story. One time we were in an assembly, and me and my friend were talking, and Miss Larry came over and said, okay, guys, you need to calm down. We're in an assembly, stop talking. And she turned around to walk away, and I stuck my tongue out at her. And another teacher saw me do that. And like literally as soon as I did it, I was like, oh, that was awful. I never want to do that again. And the other teacher saw me do that and told Miss Lake. And Miss Lake pulled me out of the assembly. She's like, Alyssa, the other teacher just said to me, who's that girl in the jean jacket? Because I was wearing a jean jacket that day. And Larry said, that's Alyssa. She's lovely. And then she said, well, she just stuck her tongue out at you. And Larry pulled me aside and said, like, I know this isn't who you are. I know that that's not what you meant. I know, right? This isn't who you are. And if she had said anything other than that, right? Like, that was bad, you shouldn't have done that, you're a terrible person, da 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 da, that would have been really painful. But having her say, this isn't who you are, that just like simultaneously built me and crushed me. Because it was like, you're right. I'm not a bad kid. I'm not terrible. She thinks I'm lovely. She saw that I did something that looks terrible, but she doesn't think I'm terrible. And again, it was just like this mind-blowing thing of like, maybe I'm not terrible. Okay, so now moving forward through my life, I, just like everybody else, and I think maybe even more, had this very deep sense that I was bad and I'm wrong and I'm evil and that all the world's pain is my fault. And being someone also who was a terrible codependent, okay? Like really wanted to be a codependent, but was very bad at it. I never had the capacity to actually placate people, okay? I was always able to walk into a room, to walk into a situation with someone, see what they're doing that's out of alignment, see how they're causing their own pain, see what they're doing to cause their pain, and I would just point it out. My family has this joke that it's like, I can walk into a house that's like spectacularly clean everywhere and has like one little pile of dirt in the corner. That's like the mess that no one wants to look at, basically. And everyone else is just like marveling at this amazing house, and I will walk in and be like, what's that pile of dirt? And everyone's like, fuck you. Why are you doing that, right? Look at how beautiful everything else is. It's fine. Don't point that out. And I'm like, no, that's a huge problem. That's going to become a huge problem if we don't deal with it. And so being someone like that, right, living in a reality that we live in, the consensus reality, that if no one's talking about it, it's not true, right? Being someone who has no capacity to see something out of alignment and not say something about it. That's who I was growing up. And the people around me did not like that. It was literally like everything was fine until you started talking. Everything was great until you said what you said. Everything was fine until you had an emotional reaction. And that's the other thing too, is that especially as a child, growing up, I was having negative emotional reactions to everything that was going on around me, but I didn't have the capacity to say, oh, it's because this is like a really unhealthy emotional environment I'm growing up in, or my friends are treating me in a way that they shouldn't be treating me, or like my boundaries are so leaky, I'm so empathic, and I have no idea how to handle knowing everything about, right? Like I have this incredible sensitivity that's not matched by my cognitive capacity yet. So that's why I say it looked like I was a problem child, because I was just so emotional. And it just felt like, man, like our life would be so much better if you just weren't like this. Yeah? And so I had this foundational core belief that I'm just like a terrible person that ruins everything, because I can't just be chill and happy when everyone else can be chill and happy. And so there was this part of me that really wanted to develop this capacity to just not say something, to not react, to just be cool. And the more that I wanted that, the more my reactions to the stuff in my life that I knew were out of alignment, that other people didn't want to hear, became exaggerated, right? The more I tried to suppress that about myself, because I'm starting to think that my emotions and the way that I am, that makes people uncomfortable, is bad and wrong and evil about me, the more it started to express as shadow, right? So I started to become attacking and biting, and it was this acidic thing that would come out of like, you're bad for doing that, you shouldn't be like this. It was just this very like fear-based thing that if I didn't tell them, everything's going to explode. And then when they get upset with me for saying it, I would totally eat it, right? So that's how I was codependent. I was never able to not say my thing, but I would just say it horrible because I'd be holding it in so long, or not really understanding what I was seeing and doing, and trying to just not have the reaction that I was having, right? Thinking, again, there's something wrong with me that I'm having such a strong emotional reaction to this. There's something wrong with me that I can't just be okay the way everyone else is. There's something wrong with me that I can't not say or react to what's happening. So I'm trying to hold that in, it's not happening, and then it's like this acidic vomit that happens. And then once I do that, I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry, you're right. I shouldn't have said that, that was my fault. Like, and then I'd overtake responsibility right? I'd try and fix it for them. I'd try and do it. I'd try to explain to them in a way that they could understand. You're right. I didn't have to say it like that. I'm not compassionate. I'm not empathetic. Like, oh, I'm such a monster. And I'm going to try and fix it for you. I'm going to try and do this thing for you. And I became so codependent of just like literally telling people I was going to rescue them from everything. And if I ever brought up something that made them uncomfortable, it's like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's not that bad, or I'll fix it for you, or I'll teach you how to fix it. And then it became like, okay, well, if you're going to bring this thing up, you better teach me how to get out of it. And if I don't want to do that, you have to give me another solution. And if I don't want to do that, you have to give me another solution. And I was like, okay, okay, okay. So I was just like a victim to all of these people who I was pointing out all their problems, and then they were like, well, you need to figure out an easy way for me to fix this, a comfortable way for me to fix this. And if I couldn't do that, then it was my fault, right? So there was this crazy codependent thing and then I started to develop coping mechanisms, right? I started to develop coping mechanisms, but again, that were a part of me trying to evolve, right? So me trying to help people. That was my undeveloped way of trying to make my own world a better place. Yeah? That was how I knew to take control. I'll help people. If everyone around me gets better, my environment will be better, and then I can be better. That's a simple way of thinking of things, and that's what I was doing as a child. If I can fix my body that is sick, everyone will like me, and it'll fix all these things. I was doing what I knew to do from my level of complexity. Okay. And every single time I went into, I'm a shitty person, I'm the cause of this is shitty because of me, blah, 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 I would get stuck in a loop. Okay? That's how anorexia happened, where I just got okay, and again, I still think the way that I did anorexia is basically just how people cleanse now. I was just over cleansing. But I was so hyper-focused and put all my energy into that area of my life because that was the area I felt I had some control over. Because I didn't have control over the emotions of the people around me. I didn't have control over the actions of people around me, the pain of people around me. I was trying really hard to try and point it out or not point it out, or if I did point it out, figure out the solution for them so they didn't have to figure it out. And that wasn't working. So I would just get more and more and more focused on these other areas of life where I did have control. And that's the thing. It's like, right, my body really was sick. I really did need to take control of that area of my life. But from a fear state of my body is broken, I'm shitty, and I have to fix myself about this, it came out all messed up. The second I started to give myself the benefit of the doubt, really, okay? So it's kind of like I had it as a child, I lost it in the in-between, and then as I started to develop it as an adult, when I started on my self-love path, right, in Thailand, I've told the story a million times, right? I had the revelation, my body hasn't changed. I'm going to have to learn how to love myself the way that I am. As I started to do that, what I was really doing was giving my body, my mind, and my spirit the benefit of the doubt. I stopped saying, I'm doing this for no reason and I'm a bad person. And I started saying, okay, why am I doing this? Why is this the way things are? If I'm not bad, if my body is not doing this, because it's against me. If all of my symptoms and sicknesses that were real, my inflammation, my digestion that didn't work, all of these things that were going wrong in my body. If I was like, what if I just assume my body is doing the best it can with what it's got right now? Well, then all of a sudden, I'm not in a fear state, right? All that stress of my body is broken and I have to fix it melts away. And from that place, I would have a dawning of understanding. Oh, I just need to do this. Oh, I should just try this. And it wasn't an overnight, my whole life gets overhauled. Not at all. It was one little piece of information that helped me understand the next level of complexity based on where I was at a time. So I kept moving forward incrementally in my life, healing my body, healing my mind, to this point of now, 6 years later, my entire life is completely different. I've changed everything about my reality in the sense that I've evolved everything. My work is more complex, my body is more complex, my relationships are more complex, how I live, I travel the world, I do all this stuff. It's a very complex life that I live. All because every single time I was in a place where I was hurting, where I had a negative emotion, where there was something going on with my body, where I was upset about something, every single time I gave myself the benefit of the doubt. I'm not doing this for no reason. I'm not feeling this way for no reason. My body isn't malfunctioning. My emotions aren't malfunctioning. My way of coping with what's going on with me isn't wrong, isn't bad. It's what I know to do right now. Why? What is going on here? It expands my awareness. Why? Because I took myself out of stress. Okay, now, I want you to understand that when we're sitting there believing that we're terrible people, and you can see that you go into self-blame, right? You have this habit, especially empaths, okay? All the people that are watching this, you're probably going to resonate deeply with this feeling that anytime anything goes wrong in your life, anytime you do anything that's painful for yourself or other people, anytime you can sense that you caused pain to someone else, even if it's you pointing out a truth that they didn't want to hear, and then they get upset, and then you blame yourself. Yeah? Anytime you're in a codependent relationship where someone expects something of you that you know you don't want to do, that you know doesn't feel good for you, but you do it anyways because it makes them happy, or you don't do it because it makes you happy, and then it makes them unhappy, and then you beat yourself up and you feel like a piece of shit. Anytime you engage in any of your coping mechanisms, you feel like shit. Why did I do that? What's wrong with me? You have, like I say, you have a negative emotion to something that you're not seeing why you're having that negative emotion. You don't really get it right now. And you're just like, God, what's wrong with me? Why am I so sensitive? You're doing that assuming that you're a bad person. And this is actually an evolution on the victim state. Okay? So if you're caught in a loop of knowing that you believe that you're a bad person, and you won't let yourself believe that you're good, right? That you struggle so hard to allow yourself to believe that you're good. And maybe even this, because this is what I'm going to say for myself. I had a fear of letting myself believe that I was a good person. Because I genuinely believed if I let myself believe I was a good person, I was going to turn into a tyrant. I was going to turn into this crazy, manipulative, out for myself bitch who just didn't give a shit about anybody else. I truly believed that. I was like, if I don't sit here and constantly be on top of myself for every little thing that I might be doing that might be hurting someone else, or every little thing that I might be doing that's wrong in my own life, I'm going to miss it. And I'm just going to turn into this horrible person. That, again, was a protective mechanism. Because I had an understanding, and you as an empath also have an understanding, whether you know it or not, that there is a right way to live life. Okay? Now, it is not like the God of the Bible. It is to say that there is a pattern to how life works. That when you work with that pattern, you are able to expand. When you work against the pattern, it degrades you. That is all that we mean by living right. Okay? It's not a consensus thing. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's not a worth thing. There's a system for how reality functions. And if you want to create and express what you came here to create and express within this system, you have to create and express it within the system. That's it. That's all that being a GERD person is. Someone who is operating within the system. And when you're not operating within the system, you're not going to get good results, right? Bringing it back to the beginning of the video. You're not going to feel how you want to feel because you're not going to be expressing what you want to express because you don't understand how you work or how the reality works. That's it. And then you cope because that will be painful. And then that turns you into someone who is sabotaging yourself and is sabotaging other people because you're trying to get your need met the best you know how to get it met with your limited understanding. That is why we do everything. Everything we do that hurts someone else and everything we do that hurts ourselves is just a simple way of trying to get needs met that we don't understand within a system that we don't understand because we're in a state of stress, so we can't learn. You see how this is all tied together? So as you give yourself the benefit of the doubt, as you start to assume you're a good person, At first, you're going to be horrified that this is going to turn you into a bad person who doesn't care about other people. That, again, because that step of, okay, I'm going to be totally on top of myself, and we have to think of that as being the first step out of the victimization that most of the rest of the world is in. Okay? So most of the rest of the world is in a state of saying, I'm in pain because of all this other shit. It's not my fault. I couldn't possibly know that I don't understand anything, and it's everyone and everything else's fault that I'm not good. Okay? That's the lowest level of intelligence. That's the lowest level of complexity. I don't understand how it works, and it's not my fault. It's just everyone else, everything else. That's the perpetual victim, right? And those victims are going to be the people who are the most abusive. They're going to be the ones who are on the attack. Yes? They're attacking the outside world because from their vantage point, I'm not happy. It's the outside world's fault, so I'm going to attack the outside world. The most abusive people are the most victims. Okay? This is a paradox that we have to understand. The most abusive people are the ones who are in the deepest victim state. They are attacking the outside world because they don't even see that they're even playing a role. It's all happening to them. Now, the next step of evolution out of that is the codependent. It's all my fault, right? This is a slightly more empowering view. I'm bad. I'm wrong. I'm evil. It's not the world's fault. It's all my fault. Because if it's all my fault, I can fix that one day. If it's all because I'm evil, all this pain and shit that I don't understand about why it's happening in the outside world is under my control. That's why we don't want to let go of believing that we're a terrible person. That's why we don't want to let go of believing that we're evil and wrong and bad and taking the blame for everything. Because we want to believe that if it's all my fault, it's all me, I'm evil, then I'm in control of it. The pain that I'm in, I can fix. You're trying to fix your pain from your current level of consciousness, which is not very high if you're blaming yourself for everything, but it's higher than pretty much everyone else on the planet. That's why we look at empaths who are trying to help other people and all this stuff, and we look at them and say, well, they're like the highest consciousness we have. Yeah, but it's not very high. That's just, it's not everyone else's fault. It's all my fault. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to evolve to the next level. It's not all the outside world. It's not all my fault. It's both. I need to understand both. I need to understand more about myself, more about the reality, more about myself, more about the reality, more about myself, more about the reality. I need to expand my view of why I'm in pain, why I'm being victimized, why this stuff hurts. And as I expand into that, the more I understand about everything, the more complex I become, the more I can create the life I want to create, the less I'm in pain. That is the problem. That is the pain. You don't understand yourself. You don't understand the world. You're not in pain because of your circumstances. You're not in pain because of what happened to you. You're not in pain. It's because you haven't learned from that. You haven't allowed it to grow you and expand you to understand the complex nature of reality so that you can create what you want to create within it. So this complex understanding that we need to step into is this. I am fundamentally and foundationally good. I also don't understand how everything works. So I'm going to break myself against the reality lots. That doesn't make me a bad person. That makes me a person who's learning. And if I want to hold on to the idea that I am evil, I'm going to send myself into a state of stress where I cannot learn, and then I can't change. Because changing requires evolution. If you don't want to do your self-sabotaging behaviors anymore, you need to deeply understand why you're doing them. Deeply understand the need that's getting met. And then expand your view of the reality to see things that you don't even know are possibilities for how to get that need met in a new way that you've never seen before. Your understanding of yourself and the reality has to expand. Okay? You're not going to, right? Simple thing. I'm just going to get rid of my binge eating. No, you're not. You're going to understand why you're doing it. You're going to understand the need that you have, the false beliefs that you have. Then you're going to have to figure out a way in the reality to get that need met in a more complex way. That's going to be a like, whoa, I never even thought that was a possibility before. Right? That's an expansion of your internal awareness and external awareness. That's a lot of new information. You can't get it when you're in a state of stress. When you're beating yourself up, all you're going to be able to do is what you've always done. When you're in a state of stress, all you're going to be able to do is what you've always done. If you want to change, you need new information, new complexity. And then you've got to be able to take that in and not make it mean you were wrong before. You've got to be able to say, I didn't know before. It's okay. I didn't know. I was doing the best that I could, and I didn't know. And again, you'll start to understand that a good person is not someone who never hurts other people, who never makes a mistake, who understands everything and is just this benevolent, perfect being. No, a good person is someone who can learn and change, right? So if you hurt somebody and they say, hey, you're hurting me, and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize I was doing that. I learned something new about myself. I learned something new about you. And if you love yourself and are giving yourself the benefit of the doubt, I'm a fundamentally good person who just didn't know. You're going to be able to say, cool, I can change. I just won't do that anymore. If you're coming from a place of, I'm such a shitty person, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm so bad, I'm so evil. You're not going to be able to change. Why? Because you're not going to be able to take in new information. That person is telling you that you're hurting them. That's going to cause you so much shame, you're just going to shut down. You're going to try your best to be different next time, and you're not going to be able to be different because you didn't learn the new way of being. You were doing what you were doing to that person for a reason. It was hurting them for a reason. The reason you were doing it, the needs that you needed to get met, their needs still exist. Nothing's changed. So unless you have a new way of meeting your need, unless you have a new way of interacting with this person that's more evolved than it was before, understanding why you were doing what you were doing that hurt them, and understanding a new way of being that's more complex so that it doesn't hurt them anymore, you're just going to keep doing what you've always done. That's what makes you a bad person. Why? Because this is the system, and you're continuing to operate outside of it because you refuse to learn about it. And then the other thing, as you start to do this, empaths are going to notice this. This is what I noticed in myself. That all of my people pleasing, right? That part of me that didn't want to say anything, said it in a venomous way, and then tried to clean up the mess for other people. That was not for other people. I was not doing that because I loved other people, and I didn't want other people to be in pain. I was doing that because I didn't want them to not like me. This is what we have to understand. Our codependencies and our I'm going to blame myself for everything so that I never say to people what they need to hear and I never do what's actually right, because this is the other thing. To be a truly good person in this world is to be completely counterculture, right? The culture tells us martyrs and people who are people pleasers are good people. No, they're not. Those people are simply enablers of other people abusing themselves and abusing others. That's not a good person. Not making someone uncomfortable for a thing they're already uncomfortable about because they know it's the wrong thing to do it's against the system is not being a good person. You degrading yourself so that someone else around you doesn't have to be uncomfortable is always a sign that you're placating something that they're doing that's degrading to themselves. You are helping them operate outside the system and not, essentially what a codependent is doing is taking on the negative consequences of the action that someone is doing that should be showing them that what they're doing is out of alignment and that they need to grow and expand. You take on those consequences, they now don't see, they don't feel the full weight of the pain that they should be feeling based on what they're doing. Because what is the point of pain? Pain is meant to tell us where we're operating outside the system. Not your wrong, bad judgment. That's not what pain is. Pain is you're operating outside the system. If you want to keep doing that, you're going to destroy yourself. Change so that you don't destroy yourself. Pain is the most loving thing the universe could give us. Without pain, we would destroy ourselves and not know it. So when we think we're being a good person by helping somebody avoid pain, we are actually being a terrible person. That's the opposite of what the world tells us. When we help people avoid their pain, we are acting as the most maleficent force on the planet. We're helping people not reap the consequences or not have the signal of them destroying themselves, but they're still reaping the consequence. We take it on, they're still degrading every single time they drink, but we don't make them feel emotionally bad about it because we let them blame us. They keep drinking, they die. The pain was numbed by you taking it on, and then they die and didn't know why. And now, not to say that that's your fault. Of course, there's still going to be pain that they're feeling that they can be aware of. But us trying to mitigate other people's pain, thinking we're being a good person, being a martyr, not saying it, or trying to make up for it after we say it, or whatever, that is so selfish. That is literally you saying, I love myself so little. I need these people who are in pain to love me. And if they don't feel like I'm helping them not feel their pain, they're not going to love me. And I'm literally willing to sacrifice them for them to approve of me right now. That's all martyrdom is. I will sacrifice myself and this other person so that they can make me feel good right now because I hate myself so much. It's a self-love deficiency. When you love yourself, you will never, ever placate somebody. You will be able to say, look, dude, you can't keep drinking. This is bad for you. And they can get mad at you, and you can be like, you get mad at me all you want. Doesn't change facts. And get mad at me all you want. I love myself. It's not going to turn you into a terrible person. But it's going to turn you into somebody who can't placate, who can't people please, who can't be what the world tells us is a good person. But you will know that you're being a good person based on the results that you'll get in your life from that. You will start to regenerate. You will start to understand yourself and the world in a whole new way. You will be able, and this is what I've learned from myself, I can now say things without the poison because I don't feel responsible. Because I love myself enough that other people's stuff is not my fault, and I love myself enough that if they're upset with me for pointing something out, that's not my fault. I don't need other people to approve of me all the time in everything I do because I approve of me. And it didn't turn me into a terrible person. It turned me into an even more benevolent person. I am more capable of being there for people in their emotions and seeing there's nothing wrong with you. I don't hate people. I don't think people are bad and wrong, right? It's a totally different mindset. It's everyone's just coping. And the less I'm in a state of coping, the better I am for the universe. So when you give yourself the benefit of the doubt, you take yourself out of that stress state so you can actually see the complexity of what's going on. And then you can expand. You're trying to hate yourself as a way of empowering yourself to get out of pain, thinking if you just hate yourself enough, you'll fix yourself one day and then the whole world will feel good. No. You have to love yourself, giving yourself the benefit of the doubt. And then you'll be able to give your emotions the benefit of the doubt. You'll be able to give your body the benefit of the doubt. You'll be able to see that everything has a reason. Nothing has gone wrong in the sense that it shouldn't be happening like this. Everything should be happening exactly how it's happening based on the pattern. So if this is not the result I want, I need to understand the pattern and set a new pattern, set a new trajectory. That's all it is, a more complex thing. And if we can't expand our awareness, we can't become more complex. We can't change. We can't do something new. We're just going to be martyrs forever. And then we just degrade ourselves to get approval from people who are degrading themselves. That's not spirituality. That's not kindness. That's not goodness. That's codependency. Okay? You have to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. So all that looks like is everything you do, everything you have, everything you are, there's a reason for this. Doesn't mean I'm going to keep doing this forever. Doesn't mean I'm giving myself permission to never change. I'm giving myself permission to be this way until I understand what I need and can get this need met in a better way. So why am I doing it? But it starts with, I'm not a bad person. I just need to upgrade my understanding. That's it. And if I really want to hold on to this idea that I'm a bad person, I have compassion for myself that I want to do that. Start with that. I don't want to let go of the idea that I'm a bad person. Okay, I'm doing that for a reason. It's complex. I love myself. Okay, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, like, share, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And we'll keep expanding on this later. But for now, mwah.